So Josh, I know the answer to this, and I don't know if it's a sort of painful answer, but you started writing this a while ago, so how long ago has it been since you've even thought of something that became the story of this film?
So I started writing another script that this was kind of worked from. I was working on it since I was 15.
Right.
But obviously it wasn't set in Laos.
No.
In Laos then. But since pen to paper with this script, specifically for this film, it was 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is your debut feature film as a writer and director. So was there a moment when you felt like, how did you know you were ready to make a feature? Was there the day you go, today's the day? Or is there kind of a professional threshold you crossed or anything where you can...
So I have a childhood friend from Brecon here that has come to see the film, Will, and his lovely girlfriend. And he knows I've always, since I was 6 years old, I was like, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. I think as soon as I started to see that the institutionalized stuff is really slow and really, it's not even like there's no guarantee, it's really unlikely. That really solidified this kind of psychology that you just have to make it happen somehow. So it was all, kind of 85% of it was self-funded through commercials and stuff like that. So I just started working as quick as possible, making music, live music videos for bands and just anything I could get my hands on, and slowly built up to a point where I was able to essentially fund it. But it took me until I was, kind of 32 to think, okay, maybe I can fund my own indie film.
So rather than an epiphany or a threshold, it's more like this was always the destiny.
Yeah, for sure.
You were always just kind of building up towards it.
For sure.
And what do you have any sort of big cinematic influences when you were younger? Were there any sort of big films where you go, oh, this is either just the power of cinema, or just films that were kind of personal or maybe inspired this?
For sure. I think it's funny. The first. I think I was probably about 6 years old, and my mum was like, I was watching Jurassic Park. I mean, this is obviously nothing like Jurassic Park.
I was actually going to say very like
where are the dinosaurs?
Yeah.
They're in there somewhere. Yeah. It was a moment where I was watching this film, and I loved, as a kid, you love this kind of films, Indiana Jones, all this kind of stuff, obsessed by this. Actually, that's what drew me to Southeast Asia more than anything, was probably a childhood obsession with Indiana Jones, but I grew to love kind of social... kind of films more about kind of social constructs and stuff like this, so a little bit more drama kind of based stuff. But I was watching Jurassic Park, and my mum was like, it was like the T-Rex when he comes out and he's like, they're going nuts, and my mum was like, someone makes that, and that's when it hit me. I was like, oh I see, that's something I can do, and that was the moment where I was like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so that was became my life's focus basically.
And I'm guessing you became a fan of world cinema as well. Was that?
So so in time, obviously, your taste develops and changes, and you figure out what you like. But I think more modern, when I was studying and stuff, and kind of exploring more laterally, it was probably more stuff like Polanski and Goddard and all that kind of stuff. Really, stuff that kind of basically people that were willing to destroy everything around them to make a film happen. Yeah. Because Polanski stole us. I mean, I know he's turned out to be a piece of shit, but sorry, excuse my language, but he's not a nice guy, right? But he made some great films, and they were socially really interesting. And he lived through a lot. He lived through, he was in Warsaw, and he was living under the floorboards while the Nazis were looking for him, and then his wife died when she was pregnant in Holi. I mean, a fascinating life. So I liked that he had kind of brought his life into the filmmaking. That I found interesting. And so people like that inspired me because they were willing to kind of break... I mean, his first film, he stole all the equipment from some local film school or something, right? And I thought, okay, you don't need to... If you care enough about film, everyone excuses the fact that you're willing to go down that kind of road. Yeah. So in my mind, I always knew that's how I'll do it. If I come across one hurdle, I will just find a way to barge through it, by hook or by crook, make a film. Well, you hear
filmmakers are inspired by films, but we also get inspired by filmmaking stories as well.
For sure, because it's hard to get the first film made. It's virtually impossible, especially the more it becomes institutionalized, the harder it actually becomes. Yeah. So it's nice to have support, but they're only going to support you when you've already kind of got to a certain hurdle. So it's now I get more support because I made a film. Yeah. But when I was trying to make this film, the support wasn't there because you're in the swimming pool with everyone else trying to get there. Yeah. So it's tough to get that first film made, basically.
But you did. We're here in history has gone well for you. So and the film's made. So when had you been to? Did you have a sort of relationship or knowledge of Laos and East Asia before this project became a project? Or
So the last 10, 12 years or so, I've been working in Southeast Asia. Most of my work, I commute to Southeast Asia. So I've worked everywhere from Laos to Vietnam to Cambodia to Brunei to I haven't worked in Myanmar, sadly. That was like a little that has worked out, and the Philippines. But I've worked in that region for a long period of time, and I fell in love with Laos specifically. There's a charm to that country and the people. Everyone is very friendly and beautiful down there, and all the cultures are deep, extremely rich and deep. But Laos, just I was drawn towards it like a magnet.
Yeah. No, I mean you can see. I think that's transmitted through the film. Like it's just an incredible place as well. And were you working there? Had work taken you there by accident, or were you kind of going, I will seek out the kind of work that has international adventures?
It was one job in Bangkok, and for Shiseido. I mean, I make my money making commercial stuff, right? It's like the only way to. It's a way to survive whilst doing it and kind of owning your skills and making contacts. And I was hoping it would take me to somewhere where I wanted to make a film, and even Bangkok, I think it's an incredible city. And, I love spicy food, and I like sweating. It's great. It's good.
It's good to have hobbies.
It's double sweat. It's good. Then you cool down.
Yeah. But also, Bangkok's been seen on film. More actually, whereas you're kind of screening in places where actually this is not.
It was the Red Temple. It was that little temple in Patang near just past Vang Vieng. It's just so stunning. I've never seen anywhere like that in my life. And it just blew my mind. And it's a backpacker trail up to that point, but it blew my mind. It felt like we were there in kind of like the green season, but when we were shooting, it's the dry season. So sadly, shooting during the pandemic, we weren't really able to make that work. So we shot in the dry season, which I was a bit disappointed about before we went. And then obviously it looks great on camera still. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful country. Imagine that, but everything is like times 10 green. Yeah. It is mind blowing. I know I spoke to a few people that have been to Laos and know that it's it still feels like a bit of a hidden gem. But it's the people who are amazing that make it.
You've shown this film a lot, and I can't imagine there's a single audience member who's gone, "What's with the uncinematic weather?" It still looks amazing, doesn't it? So, and so presumably, going on that experience, discovering these places, is that kind of starting unearthing bits of your brain? We go, "Oh, this story could work here." Or how did you start? Who was the first person you kind of said, "I've got this idea for a film," or or maybe
I share everything with the first person I share stuff with is usually my cinematographer. I've always been my real father was a photographer. And I haven't seen, I don't know the guy, but I have his negatives, and I always had a fascination with shooting on celluloid, but also just cinematography was always important. The way things looked were always really important on film for me. And so that I used to actually do quite a few jobs for quite big directors as a cinematographer, amongst kind of other stuff kind of coming up. Like Andy Morahan, who did Guns N' Roses music, the November Rain Guns N' Roses music video, and people like that.
Outside the Church.
Yeah, exactly. That was memorable. His the most. I think the most expensive music video ever made is still that music video. So I worked with him a lot. He's a lovely guy, and he used to bring me on to shoot stuff, and I enjoyed it because I really care about that, and so I have a really tight relationship always with the DOP that I work with, and the guy that I work with now, James Chegwin, is he's from Cornwall. He's lovely human and extremely talented, and so we worked together on everything for the last 10 years. I've gone off on a bypass with cinematography, and but he just shot Scorsese's next documentary in Sicily, which comes out in a year or so. So he's shot my film, shot my friend's feature, and then he's shot this, so he's blowing up. But he's this very hippie dude that really doesn't like to talk, and is very shy, and from Cornwall, super lovely guy.
But he's the guy.
He's the first person I shared script with. I'm like, that's for you, because I want to hear his guttural. I want to hear his thoughts first. That's really important to me.
Yeah, I'm assuming he liked it.
But we it changes and morphs. We did 31 drafts of this, and it's
wow.
At the end of the day, it's an indie film, and I only pass it to people that I respected.
Yeah.
Artistically. I think that's important, early on.
Yeah, And obviously, so you're an experienced filmmaker. You have people you work with, but that doesn't make it a go project. So then you have to like assemble a team and a plan for making this film. So how do you figure that out? How do you?
God, I don't even know where
I'm
to
guessing you
start
make
with that.
connections in Laos and.
So we'd already worked with a team in Laos on some mini docs I was doing for Toyota.
Right.
But it was nothing to do with. It was very uncommercial. It was about young up and coming classical musicians in different countries in Southeast Asia, but like high school students. Really cool, really good fun, actually really rewarding project. And I met my friends in Laos, now like super close friends. I just had Lee, who helped me produce the film, over for 2 weeks. He just went back yesterday. We got my visa over to kind of explore. He's been running around, going to Scotland and everything and having fun. It was born out of friendship, essentially. Right. And they were making. There's only two production companies in the country. There's 4 cinemas in the country. So it's the same population and kind of. I think it's a similar size even to like Norway, and there's no infrastructure at all, which is really fascinating. But this one production company, they were really friendly, but really they just want to make narrative. I thought it doesn't matter where you are, there's only 2 production companies that anyone knows about in this country, and one of them is obsessed with cinema, which makes me think that's the same as exactly where I'm from. Like everyone, really, they want to be making films. They don't want to do the stuff they have to do, making commercials and stuff. It's fine, but it doesn't matter where you are in the world, there are people just like you. Yeah. And so I bonded with them we've all bonded very quickly, because we feel like that. We just want to make films. We don't care about anything else, really.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're like, oh my God, you're halfway across the world, pandemic happened, and then it was like, speaking every day, writing, asking millions of questions, and just turning it into something we could make one day. It was part dream, part reality. Like, we're all going to die, right? We're in the pandemic, so it's not going to happen. So might as well, like, kind of, we'll make this beautiful film in Laos, and we'll kind of, like, make it happen.
That sounds like one of the probably healthier ways to process the pandemic.
Delusion, yeah.
But it's interesting, like actually, even now, like even like Q&As of filmmakers, so many people mention kind of the pandemic and how it changed them or how it changed their process.
Delusion's an important part of filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
It's like I've had a lot of like directors say, like, to get the first film made, you have to just be super deluded.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been deluded my whole life.
The healthy amount of deluded.
Yeah.
That's
I think just like way unhealthy to the max, and then like at some point draw it back when you get it made.
Yeah, it's fine. You seem like the right amount now. So, and I was going to say, like, actually, like, obviously, you're a Welsh filmmaker with lots of international experience. And I was going to say, was there any kind of hesitancy from sort of your counterparts and peers with that? But it sounds like you found your peers.
I found people that were also really it was James Chagwin, the cinematographer, and then my sound guy. I'd been taking them down to Southeast Asia to make stuff anyway, and we'd been to Iraq before together making films as well. So we've done adventure before. So this was really like, sounds lovely.
Yeah.
You know, especially during the pandemic, this maybe sounds extra lovely. They're used to adventure. So, I mean, I always wanted to go to North Korea, and then I met my wife, and she was like, I'm drawing the line. This is the line.
I think North Korea's drawn a line too, so you agree on that. So.
Yeah, so that's not going to happen, sadly.
Not yet, that's fine.
Not yet, yeah.
And this, I mean, obviously this film is, I mean, behind the camera, the talent is incredibly obvious, but you also have these 2 incredible leads, and you needed to have these 2 incredible leads as well. So how did you find them? Were they kind of what you expected, or did the film change when you found your really good actors?
They're the first 2 people we looked at.
Yeah.
And then obviously that's insane. You can't just be like, that's fine, let's risk everything. We searched for more people for like 2 months, and then we came back to them. But they are non-actors. I was also obsessed with Bicycle Thieves. I really just wanted the main characters to be non-actors. And because it is really limited, it works for somewhere like Laos because there's really not many options anyway. And if you're going to get an actor, they're probably going to be like a bit pre-trained and commercial and used to doing stuff that isn't. We have a different taste in cinema. It's more like Thai style, you know. So it's more like rom-coms that are really zany and kind of goofy and stuff like that. So it doesn't fit, which I would have worked with. Yeah. But I was like non-actor all the way for sure. And Bicycle Thieves, the kid is a non-actor, and he's incredible.
Yeah,
I was like, that's what we're going for, and he's great. And that boy is amazing.
Yeah, I know, they're both incredible. And I was going to say, did you have a sense as a director that you kind of knew how to, because there are some directors who are like famously Spielberg is great at directing kid actors. You kind of knew, you were like, I think I know how to direct them too.
Eldest of four. My mum has like a children's clothes company, so I was always used to doing that, but also just no father figures. I was always looking after kids, bringing them up to change it. I know how to change various types of nappies. There's only one type of nappy, but whatever, you know, like I was used to it, so I'm good with kids. So that was didn't fit. Kids and animals, they say don't work with, but I always worked with kids and animals, so it doesn't phase me. You know, we had animals growing up. Yeah,
and there, I mean, so many qualities to shooting on film, but one of the challenges of it is actually limited takes. So was there ever a tension between like managing non-professional child actors and going, we can shoot this twice?
You know, not as bad as I thought it could have been, and I think, you know, you just roll with the punches. But we had like 3 to 5 takes on average. A normal low budget indie film has about 30 hours of rushes on average, from what I've gathered, and we had 11 hours.
Right.
And so we really had to be super careful with how we shot stuff. But I didn't want it to feel rigid, and I, obviously there's moments when it feels rigid, but like we really tried to just throw everything in the bin and just go with my gut when I could.
Yeah.
You know, so like them playing the patty cake game, and she puts the helmet on his head and they run off and stuff. Moments like that, they're just, the sun's going down, the light is beautiful, let's shoot something. Yeah. And we'll worry about what that means for us later. Yeah. But I'm excited to lean more into that going forward, because I think that's where the film is strongest, when it feels like in the moment.
Yeah, and it feels from talking to you as well, like it was always going to be shot on film as well. Like
that's for sure.
And what do you? I mean,
I wanted to set like a kind of. I just wanted people to know if I ever make a film again, I'll make it on film. Yeah, because I'm obsessed with film. I love film, so I don't want to make something on digital and then fight for it to be on film. No. You know what I mean?
And what do you like about film? What are your favourite? You know, that's not too open a question. What's your top 17 things about film?
Top 17 things. Okay, so I like that you are forced to think about what you're shooting. I think that's really important. I like that it retains some of the actual journey in the film. So if you see films shot on 16mm that was shot in this country, you'll see it looks quite clean and quite good. Yeah. This carries all the dust and scratches of us dragging it by boat and everything up to the north of Laos, dusty, scratched. And it feels like that. You feel the sense of that. It feels like an older film than it is, I think. Yeah. And I think that is because the film was more destroyed when we got it back and got it scanned. I mean, I didn't have a monitor for the first 10 days when we were shooting it. Camera broke down after 10. All that film we shot before, it's like that has like a different texture through the shit it went through, basically. Yeah. And it's the dusty season. It feels a bit dustier than I think it would have been if it was more. Yeah, so I like that about it, the tangibility of that on screen.
You don't have to do 17.
No, I know that. I'm just like, I feel like I could, so I don't know where to go. But I mean, there's so many good things about it. I think it's also a good way to own your craft. You should be thinking about, you know, if I've got 3 takes, what would I do? You know, because it makes you think a little bit more creatively as well. I think restrictions are really great.
Yeah, of course,
You know, when you shoot digital, the problem is you have so many, you can just shoot forever, and that is a problem. And also, it's not that exciting. Yeah, it's more. It should be exciting. Filmmaking should be exciting. It should be like, it has to be this take. We have to get it right.
And I suppose there's a thing of going, well, where, like, given that I have this restriction, where is the perfect place to put this camera? Because I can't play around. I've got to.
And if something doesn't work, you can be like, so because we're obviously shooting in the Laos language, the Lao language as well. You know, you shoot a scene, you get 1 take, maybe only some of it works. I'm like, great. Then at that point, we'll have a different angle. Yeah. So it makes you think a little bit more about how you might approach a scene as well, and I like that. I think that's exciting. I think that's fun. I think it should be, the experience should have that tension to it. Yeah, because it keeps you thinking instead of like, oh shit again, whatever. You know, that's not that. Doesn't carry any weight, does it?
No,
I like that.
I agree with you. While we have time, does anyone have any questions? I've got loads of questions, obviously, but like I feel like you may have questions. So does everyone have a question they would like to ask now about? Yes, I know you were saving one up as well. I will get to you next as well.
Josh, you know I'm going to ask you some questions.
Yes.
How did you develop the story with those 2 fantastic characters, and how did you get Itipon to be so completely natural throughout the story?
So I mean, he is just amazing. Like, that is definitely like the first thing to say. He is a complete natural, without a doubt. That's at the top of that question, of that answer. But also just creating a space that feels, you know, relaxed, natural, fun. You know, a child, when you're working with children, they need to get what you want out of it. At the end of the day, like, they should feel like they're having fun, like they're playing. You know, that's all it is. It's just creating an environment where they feel like they can play, and there is no high. The irony is, obviously, it's like, we only have one take of this, and the whole thing like burns to the ground if this kid doesn't get it right. But no one can know that. You know what I mean? I kept that really to myself and a few people. So it's creating a safe space where people can have fun and feel like there is no high risk or no, you know, it's just let them play, you know. And so whenever they do that, you really feel, even them playing marbles on the floor, it's like he's got a few lines to say and he pulls them out of the bag and then they just natter on about something. Fantastic. That's when it starts to feel natural. But they also did work really hard to remember the lines. He can't read, so, you know, it's all from memory what he did remember. So yeah, he's just a really talented kid, and I think that says a lot about humanity. You know, it's a small country with no infrastructure for such things, or the arts, and yet, you know, we're all over here looking at some kid in Laos that, you know, lives in the south, is completely disconnected from all this stuff, that is extremely talented, who would go quite far as an actor here, you know, and that fascinates me. I think that's a really interesting thing. I think we all forget that everyone's just, you know, in my eyes, you know, we're all the same. We all just love, eat, care about family, all these things, and I like that. I like seeing this. Yeah, he's amazing. I could talk about it for hours. I don't know if I answered your question. I started meandering. Did
the story come from you or from them?
So basically the two main characters. The way I wrote the script was Satu is me looking for my father. Obviously he's looking for his mother. It's kind of metaphorical. It's not really important to the story, but that's how I wrote it, so I could kind of dial into his emotions. And then the same with Bo. It's me trying to be a filmmaker and also coming from an abusive home, so it's kind of like they kind of meet each other, so I could kind of play off these characters as two characters that I knew quite well, because they're kind of versions of myself, universal stories that kind of fit everywhere, you know, that happens over the world. So that was kind of the motivation behind the characters.
Great questions and comment. And I think there was a question from over here as well.
Many years ago, Mason films on 16mm, and I seem to remember the shape of the 16mm film is more square than
yeah.
So what did you have to do how did that work? Changing the aspect ratio?
So, I mean, part of me, it's funny because these are kind of conversations you have quite early on, but also after you shoot it, you're kind of like, oh, you know, like maybe it'd be nice like this or whatever. So this is Super 16, so it's a little bit wider, right? And I mean, I love the frame that you get straight out the gate. I like seeing the gate, and I like how dirty it gets and all the hairs and stuff. And part of me wanted to just show it like that. But in the end, it just feels a little bit. It's just maybe so self-indulgent to see like to that level. So we ended up just kind of like cropping it to fit the frame. But obviously, so it was all scanned at Kodak. We were waiting still. We had got to Thailand by that point, waiting for it to be processed. We didn't see anything before we finished shooting. We had no dailies. I didn't have the budget for dailies. So 2 weeks after we shot it, we still didn't know if we had a film. After spending months shooting this thing, throwing everything I didn't have at it, and it came out. So it was okay in the end, thank God. And yeah, it was a bit of a process, but it was just a decision to kind of. But it gets scanned digitally, obviously, at that stage. Yeah. I would love to cut it with a Steinbeck or something, but I need more budget to do that. It'd be nice to have a print of it that we could show on 16mm projectors in cinemas. One day I'll do that. Yeah. They're all at home in a cupboard, all laid, ready to be.
Fair enough. Any more questions while we have time? Yeah, of course.
I'm interested to hear a bit more about maybe the post-production.
Yeah.
So, like, especially after the sort of COVID, etc. How did that all come about, and how long it took?
Yeah, that took longer because obviously we didn't have budget for it. So I did the first 6 or 7 cuts of it. And then I kind of got to a point where I was like, I need someone to have some separate eyes. So I brought in one of my regular editors to then kind of tweak and have that outside perspective. I think we ended up with, 21 iterations of the film by the end of it. So by then anything that changes, you just make it a new cut, right? But yeah, that process was okay. There were many times where I felt disillusioned by what we had. There were times when I was like, this is great, this could be really great, and there were lots of moments where I was like a bit lost in it, you know, because I was the only driving force behind it, you know what I mean? So you get in your own head, and I think it could have been, if I had the finances to have a bit more like involvement from my regular team, because we all had to then just go back to work. We got back, everyone's like, we're going to make some money again, right? Then we would have probably finished it a year earlier. But you know, I think you also need time and distance on that stuff. So we had, again, everyone involved in it are all kind of celluloid nerds. So the colorist, for example, he did it for free for me. I've known him for a long time. I get him a lot. I make him do all my color grading on my commercial stuff, and he's obsessed with film. And he's got like an old big drum scanner, which you don't get anywhere these days. Like they don't really. There's not that many even in the country, and it's like he drum scans all his own negatives and stuff. So we're all like film junkies basically. But yeah, it took time.
I think we may have time for one more question, maybe, if you have it, or maybe I'll just take it.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, great question, really good question. And the back there, yeah, of course.
I'd just like to ask about the practicalities of working, presumably in a language that you don't speak.
Yeah.
How you managed to build a relationship with your young actors when I assume you've got somebody speaking between you and...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people actually speak English there, which is crazy, but because a lot of the people we work with were from the capital in Vientiane, so I'd say like 60% of the crew spoke English, so I was able to regularly communicate. And if they don't, I work around the world. I've worked in 41 countries around the world. I'm used to not working in a language that I don't, not working in a language that I don't understand. I made yogurt adverts in Germany and did it with kids that just speak German or whatever, but especially in Iraq or Southeast Asia or Asia or wherever, I'm quite used to it. I like that challenge a lot. That's the first thing I'll say. I really enjoy that. Even at university, I was like, the first film I wanted to make was in Bulgarian. I was like, I don't speak any Bulgarian. Like, I really like that challenge. Obviously, that comes with a lot of complications, and I'm aware that could go quite wrong, right? So with this film, there were so many like things in place to make sure that worked. I think the most useful one was probably we had a phone on top of the camera, so we could shoot the scene from a horrible, hideous angle, like above the camera. So then we could go, right, we've done the take. Let's assess like what does that look like to my Laos team. What feels out of place, you know? And like I said, there's only 2 production companies there, so you're not going to get any better than these guys, right? So they can say, look, that word didn't work, and I can be like, that's okay. I'm going to cut there. You know, we'll go to this and we'll do another angle. And so it was kind of cobbling together, really, the moments that I needed. The edit was in my mind the whole way along. And obviously you end up picking up quite a lot of it as well. After 5 years of work, I obviously can't hold a conversation at all. But I'm aware of a lot of words, and specifically the script at that point, because it had been translated. And because we had done so many rehearsals, I was really aware of what was going on. I knew what every line was, you know. So that was handy too. So it's a process, you know. It's just a complete process, you know. I mean, I speak a bit of Spanish, but then I feel like I would like to make a film in Spanish one day. But I like the idea of it being in languages I really don't know, because then I get to go further, deeper into the culture. It's quite exciting to learn more. But yeah. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it. Yeah,
no fluency, but the spirit of adventure. Also, I like the idea there's some, you know, emerging filmmakers in the audience, and they'll go, okay, lessons learned, yogurt commercials in Germany. That's what I need to do.
Yes, powder pudding.
Yeah,
German
exactly.
rap for kids.
That's the route.
The way forward.
We are pretty much out of time. I was going to say, like, we're kind of catching you maybe midway through your tour. Mm-hmm. And so, have you enjoyed kind of taking the film on the road and sort of meeting the audience?
Yeah, I mean,
I knew you'd be great as an audience, but you know,
it's been super fun, and I think, it's been. If I include the festival stuff, it's been like a year now of taking it on the road and see all the different audiences respond differently. Yeah. Which is really in Japan. They wait till the last credit and then they clap. I was like, oh god, everyone hates it, and then they waited for it to go, and then everyone would clap. I was like, okay, phew. Yeah. And in the UK, I know the audience here. Obviously, we're more like credits started to roll up, we were like, it's done, we don't need to see all the credits. But yeah, it's been great, and I've been, we've been around Wales showing it, which has been nice to kind of be back on home turf in the last week. And yeah, it's been fun and exhausting.
Fair enough.
But fun.
We are delighted that you're here. Thank you, and I'm delighted that you're here as well. And we obviously could do it for ages, but we'll have to save it. But we can just say that you have plans to shoot your next feature, so that's good news for everyone.
Yes, in November. Yeah.
There we go. So we're looking forward to that.
On
Consider all the tickets sold. Big round of applause for Josh.
Thank you very much. Thanks.